जगदीश सुधीश भवेश विभो परमेश्वर परात्पर पूतपिता प्रणतं पतितं हत बुद्धिबलं जनतारणतारय तापितकम् जगदीश सुधीश भवेश विभो मम जीवन मीनमिमं पतितं मरुघोरभुविह सुविह महो करुणाब्धिचलोर्मिजलनयनं जनतारणतारय तापितकम् जगदीश सुधीश भवेश विभो भववारण कारण कर्म तथौ भवसिन्धुजले शिव मग्नमता करुणाञ्च समर्पय तरीं त्वरितं जनतारणतारय तापितकम् जगदीश सुधीश भवेश विभो भवकारक नारक हारक हे भवतारक पातक दारक हे हर शंकर 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 हर शंकर किंकर कर्मचयम् हर शंकर किंकर कर्मचयम् जनतारणतारय तापितकम् जगदीश सुधीश भवेश विभो त्रिषितश्चिरमस्मि सुधां हितमेच्युत चिन्मय देहि वदान्यवर अतिमोहवशेन विनष्टकृतं जनतारणतारय तापितकम् जगदीश सुधीश भवेश विभो प्रणमामि नमामि नमामि भवं भवजन्म प्रकृति प्रणिषूदनकम् गुणहीनमनन्तमितं शरणं गुणहीनमनन्तमितं शरणं जनतारणतारय तापितकं जगदीश सुधीश भवेश विभो
With the eternal play of Sri Ramakrishna be manifest in the hearts of those who have taken shelter at his feet, at the feet of his associates and devotees. May the name and glory of the Lord be spread amongst all mankind. May devotion and knowledge be awakened in the hearts of all. May the worship bring good unto us. Salvation unto Sri Ramakrishna, the embodiment of all incarnations of God. Om Devam Tatpakritam Chattam Tanuva Tannishwaraya Chittamevam Putchedanava Om Sujya Samojamokala Mahapudi Panchaja Eke Subhashivascha Padma Sakshina. Om Kottadbhavasmin Swami Vivekananda Subhadhyama Nimittaka Sri Ramakrishna puja karmani Om Punyam Bhavantu Bhavantu Om Punyam 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 Om Kottadbhavasmin Sri Ramakrishna puja karmani Om Shakti Bhavantu Om Shakti Om Shakti Om Shakti Om Shri Ramakrishna Puja Puja Tam Om Shakti Indra Vidya Shravaha Shasti Napusha Vishwaveda Shasti Nastak Shurishtunemehi Shasti Vidadadu Om Shasti Om Shasti Om Shasti Om Shujya Samojamagala Shande Buddha Pavana Dikpoti Bhumyakosang Rijakta Brahmang Shastaya Kalpati Sannidhi Vashtratta Paramasagutra Shivaparananda Sri Ramakrishna Pitikamaha Jata Samanya Vidina Sri Ramakrishna Devasya Pasya Bhaktasita Janideshu Nityalla Bhava Vikashanaya Nikilo Janagana Madhye Tanmaito Jasha Vidye Tarpite Cha Sri Ramakrishna Puttakarvani Om Sarvajamaya Puttakarvani Tadhyasave Sitoham Kurishye Om Jagjagata Om Jagjagrata Dharamdaiva Daivam Dadu Satyadaiva Di Dharangam Gade Shantadu Om Sankulita Siddha Santu Mano Pradha Bhakti Ganodayama Shiva Bodhu Om Gange Jamune Chaiva Godavari Saraswati Navade Sindhu Kaveri Jalasmin Sandhidam Kuru Om Adagandha Pushpe Davadabho Navaha Om Adagandha Pushpe Brahmane Navaha Om Adagandha Pushpe Vastu Purushaya Namaha Om Adagandha Pushpe Vignaya Namaha Om Singadagandha Pushpe Mahalakshmi Namaha Om Aing Adagandha Pushpe Saraswati Namaha Om Sadva Vignansaya Om Puttaha Om Apashapantu Devuta Devuta Abhishansita Devuta Vignakatta Nasanto Shivagaya Om Bhuta Preta Pishascha Te Bhasanti Asya Bhutade Te Giratma Gindantamaya Dattam Bulinam Prasadidam Om Pujita Putpa Pushpa Daiva Bhuli Vishtada Desha Pujam Vishkushami Om Apasharpantu Devuta Jevuta Vinsansita Jevuta Vignagate Adha Shivagaya Om Rakshakshang Swaha Om Asho Asno Pusha Mantasya Mera Pishiti Sutalam Chanda Kunmadavata Asumidega Om Pitti Tayadita Luka Devidam Vishadita Tang Chandang Mang Chittang Puttang Kurujasanam Om Ringadaganda Pushpe Adashakti Kalasane Nama Om Anguribho Namaha Om Ang Paramaguribho Namaha Om Ang Parapaguribho Namaha Om Ang Paramaguribho Namaha Om Ganganshaya Namaha Om Aim Sarvadeva Devi Swarupaya Sri Ramakrishnaya Namaha Om. Om Shah. Om Sadabhishekam Putshaha. Om Sadabhishekam Putshaha. Om Sadabhishekam Putshaha. Om Pushpe Pushpe Mahapushpe Supushpe Pushpate Putshaha. Om Astaya Fat. Om Ang 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 Ang Kang Gui Kang Chang Gui Chang Tang Gui Tang Pong Gui Chang Yung Nama. Om Rang. Om Durge Durge Yakshmi Swaha. Om Putshaha. Om Durge Durge Yakshmi Swaha Putshaha. Om Durge Putshaha. Om Bhuto Singha Shiro Shushamna Patena Shushamna Vajivashivam Paramashiva Jayami Swaha. Om Yang Linga Shriram Swaha. Om Rang Sangata Shriram Dada Swaha. Om Paramashiva Shushamna Patena Bhuto Singha Shiro Swaha. Om Ang Putsha, Ang Putsha, Ang Putsha. Om Ang Ring Jang Yang Lang Bang Sang Sang Ram Hong Shou Sri Ramakrishna Devataya Prana Prana. Om Ang Ring Kong Yang Jang Lang Bang Sang Sang Ram Sri Ramakrishna Devaya Jiva Yastita. Om Ang Ring Jang 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 Bang Sang Sang Sa Sri Ramakrishna Devaya Idang Jivasya. Om Ang Ring Jang Jang Bang Sang Sa Sri Ramakrishna Devaya Sarve Indriyani. Om Ang Ring Jang Jang Bang Sang Sa Sri Ramakrishna Devaya Bhakmana Chokka Sutta Bhakmana Sa. Om Ashwa Matika Mantasya Brahma Rishi Gayatri Chanda Matika Shri Devata Hala Vijay Shaya Shakta Bhakta Kilake Sarvavi Sharitil Vindase. Om Brahma Rishi Namaha. Om Gayatri Namaha. Om Matika Shri Devata Vai Namaha. Om Haliva Vijipana. Om Shri Namaha. Om Kong 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 Namaha. Ing Chang 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 Tajibang Swaha. Om Chang 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 Mate Bambasat. Ing Chang 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 Basat. Om Chang Lam Gada Tasya Pat. Om Ang Kang Chang Chang Bang Chang Chang Namaha. Om Ang Chang 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 Sa. Om Chang 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 Shikaya Basat. Om Chang 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 Namaha. Om Chang 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 Shikaya Basat. Bhashate Vishnu Chidise Jagat Suchirabhitaye Yoga Kanmadayine Om Esha Suchaya Namaha Om Javak Sankatam Katrimadatim Dhantasha Divakaram Om Angadaganda Puspesi Gurave Namaha Om Angadaganda Puspe Ganeshaya Namaha Om Angadaganda Puspe Shivadi Pandurikbo Namaha Om Ataganda Puspe Aditaya Navagrashbo Namaha Om Ataganda Puspe Navagrashbo Namaha Om Ataganda Puspe Kalladi Dasamavidyabbo Namaha Om Ataganda Puspe Matsadi Dharavatabbo Namaha Om Ataganda Puspe Shadbrigbo Devibbo Namaha Om Ataganda Puspe Shadbrigbo Devibbo Namaha Om Ataganda Puspe Agradi Paranibbo Namaha Om Ataganda Puspe Padiditibbo Namaha Om Ataganda Puspe Krishna Bhakshaya Namaha Om Ataganda Puspe Shukla Bhakshaya Namaha Om Ataganda Shavashaya Namaha Om Ataganda Puspe Punyavaya Namaha Om Ataganda Puspe Shadvibbo Devibbo Namaha. You could open now. Om Brahmanandam Paramashugadam Kevalam Janamurtim Dandatitam Gaganardisham Tatsamasati Laksham Ekam Nittam Vivalachalam Sarvada Shakti Bhutam Bhavatitam Tiroidam Shakti Namami Om Dayat Shri Shukladje Dinettam Vivudam Shetam Prabhudharanam Shetam Levanam Varabhayakaram Santam Karunam Vigram Smarananam Asupasannam Satagavidayakam Bangladeshpur Bangladeshpur Pujaniya Devibho Namaha Bangladeshpur Pujaniya Devibho Namaha Bangladeshpur Pujaniya Devibho Namaha Om Ataganda Puspe Pujaniya Devibho Namaha Om Ataganda Puspe Devaya Vishnave Namaha Om Ataganda Puspe Sarvadi Kirupaya Sri Ramam Namaha Om Angadaganda Puspe Panya Devibho Namaha Om Idam Chanda Pushpam Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Om Esha Dhupa Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Om Vedagan Om Esha Deepa Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Om Vedagan Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Saram Tatpadiram Jeno Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Agganatimirandishikadanjasalakaya Chakshumiratasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Gurudeva Ishvara Guru Brahma Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Salutation to the true and the great teacher, who is the embodiment of bliss of Brahman and the bestowed of supreme happiness, who is detached, knowledge personified, and beyond duality, who is like the sky and indicated by such Vedic terms as thou art that, who is one, eternal, pure, immovable, the witness of all changes in the intellect, beyond all state, and devoid of the three gunas. Om Kalpam Tadanam Gadandravan Vadanam Lambadaram Sundaram Prashamevan Randagandhastalam Dantagata Vidivakaram Bhante Shritam Ganapatim Siddhivatam Kamadam Om Gangidam Chandapushpam Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Chandapushpam Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Isha Dubha Om Isha Diva Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Devandra Moli Manda Malganara Vignorandra Mojare Namaha. Ekadantem Mahakayam Lammadangajananam Vignasandevam Hrimbam Pranamamam. Om Dayanittam Mahesham Radhavivam Charnapatam Sam Ratnakalpodyapanam Padmachinam Samantasidam Vishyatam Vishvijam Niglabaranam Panchavaktam Kinetram. Om Tamagam Jadamaya Sabandi Pushtivadanam Purvarika Bandhanabhinandaniva. Om Tamudramaya Sabandi Pushtivadanam Purvarika Bandhanabhinandaniva. Om Bandhanabhinandaniva. Om Vidantapushpam. Om Namo Ganeshaya. Om Namah Ganeshaya. Namo Ganeshaya Namo. Om Namah Shivaya Namaha. Om Dhanittam Mahesham Charvadam Ratnakalpotyapanam Padmachinam Samantatadai Bhagavanam Vishyaddam Vishvijam Niglabaranam Panchavaktam Tinetram. Om Namah Shivaya Idam Chandapushpam Shivaya Namaha. Om Namah Shivaya. Esha Dhūpa Shivaya Namaha.
জয় বীরেশ্বর বিবেক ভাস্কর, জয় জয় শ্রী বিবেকানন্দ। জয় বীরেশ্বর বিবেক ভাস্কর, জয় জয় শ্রী বিবেকানন্দ। জয় বীরেশ্বর বিবেক ভাস্কর, জয় জয় শ্রী বিবেকানন্দ। হিন্দু নিধানন সুন্দর লোচন, হিন্দু নিধানন সুন্দর লোচন, বিশ্ব মানব চিরবন্দ। হিন্দু নিধানন সুন্দর লোচন, বিশ্ব মানব চিরবন্দ। জয় বীরেশ্বর বিবেক ভাস্কর, জয় জয় শ্রী বিবেকানন্দ। প্রেম ঢল ঢল কান্তি সুবিমল, অধিগত বেদ বেদান্ত। প্রেম ঢল ঢল কান্তি সুবিমল, অধিগত বেদ বেদান্ত। ত্যাগতি দীক্ষা তপস্যায় জল, ত্যাগতি দীক্ষা তপস্যায় জল, চিত্ত নিরমল শান্ত। ত্যাগতি দীক্ষা তপস্যায় জল, চিত্ত নিরমল শান্ত। জয় বীরেশ্বর বিবেক ভাস্কর, জয় জয় শ্রী বিবেকানন্দ। পরম ভক্তি গেল ত্রিশূল ধারণ, ছেদন জীব মোহবন্ধ। পরম ভক্তি গেল ত্রিশূল ধারণ, ছেদন জীব মোহবন্ধ। ব্রহ্মপরায়ণ নমো নারায়ণ, ব্রহ্মপরায়ণ নমো নারায়ণ।
Sarvadeva-devi Swarupaya Sri Ramakrishna Namaha Ityasya Mantasya Brahmani Sri Gayati Chanda Sarvadeva-devi Swarupa Sri Ramakrishna Vatari Sri Viniyaga Om Brahmani Sri Namaha Om Gayati Chanda Sri Namaha Om Aing Sarvadeva Swarupaya Sri Ramakrishna Namaha Om Angustabhang Namaha Om Ramtajitbhang Swaha Om Samadham Vasat Om Kinganabhikagyang Om Gaishtavam Vasat Om Gankar Ramakar Vishtabhai Namaha Om Hidaya Namaha Om Ram Syasasaha Om Mangsikaya Vasat Anigapachaya Namaha Om Sarvadeva-devi Swarupaya Sri Ramakrishna Namaha Om Sarvadeva-Swarupaya Sri Ramakrishna Namaha Om Sarvadeva-Swarupaya Sri Ramakrishna Namaha Shining into the letters of the heart, indivisible, one without second, untainted by Prakriti, bliss eternal, embodiment of perfection. O Ramakrishna, we adore you. Beyond compare, subtler than the subtlest, transcending the universe, untouched by desire, vast as the sky, whose home is all being, above the realm of the three gunas, really Brahman itself, supreme reality, embodiment of perfection. O Ramakrishna, we adore thee. Born to give divine knowledge, divine love, eternal peace to all, to whom samadhi is natural, whose heart is melted in love, who is unable to bear the suffering of the world, tender-hearted, ever filled with divine spirit, embodiment of perfection. O Ramakrishna, we adore thee. Om Hridaya Kamala Maite Rajitam Nirvikalpam Sadakila Vedati Tamega Sarupam Prakriti Vikiti Siddham Nityamananda Murtim Vimala Paramahamsam Ramakrishnan Bhajam Nirvapamati Shushkam Nishprapanchadidiyam Gagana Saddhisayisam Tattamasadi Laksham Tigunarayita Satyit Brahmarupam Bharendam Vimala Paramahamsam Ramakrishnan Bhajam Vitarita Vatindam Galavakti Vasanti Pranagavadritam Jivadukha Soishnu Dita Sasamadhi Chinmay Kavalangam Vivala Paramahamsam Ramakrishnan Bhajam Sarvadeva-devi Swarupaya Sri Ramakrishnaya Namaha Om. Idam Snanudakam Sarvadeva-devi Swarupaya Sri Ramakrishnaya Namaha Om. Om Angisanda Pushpam Sarvadeva-devi Swarupaya Sri Ramakrishna Namaha Om. Om Aing Esha Rupa Sarvadeva Devi Swarupaya Sri Rama Krishnaya Namaha Om. Om Aing Esha Rupa Sarvadeva Devi Swarupaya Sri Rama Krishnaya Namaha Om. Om Bong Vidya Bong Vidya Bong Vidya Vidya Bong Vidya Bong Vidya Om Ganda Pushpe Navidya Namo Om Ganda Pushpe Edavadavayo Vishnuve Namo Om Ganda Pushpe Sarvadra Sarvadrupayo Sri Rama Krishna Namo Om Aing Dang Sarvagun Raivitam Sarvadava Devi Swarupaya Sri Rama Krishnaya Nivedayami Vandam Patsha Om Idam Panidigam Sarvadrupaya Sri Rama Krishnaya Namaha Om Pranasha Upanasha Vedasha Samanasha Om Aing Chanda Puspanjali Sarvadeva Devi Swarupaya Sri Rama Krishnaya Bhushat Om Aing Gandhu Sri Rama Krishna Saranga Devadai Bho Nama Om Aing Gandhu Pushpe Sri Rama Devadai Bho Nama Om Aing Gandhu Pushpe Sarvadava Devi Swarupinai Shri Sharada Devbhoi Namaha Om. Om Tapakaya Dharmasya Sarvadharma Swarupini Avatara Bhanishtaya Ramakrishnaya Te Namaha. Om Niranjana Nityanta Rupam Bhaktanukampa Nirvikram Bhoi Ishavataram Parmasiddham Tam Ramakrishna Shirasa Namami. Om Aing Ring Sarvadava Devi Swarupindai Seshada Devbhai Namaha Ittasya Mantasya Brahmani Sri Gayatri Chanda Sarvadava Devi Swarupini Shisharada Devi Shadiviniyaga Om Vishnu Brahmane Namaha Om Vishnu Namaha Namaha Om Aing Ring Sarvadava Swarupini Sharada Devbhai Namaha Om Aing Ring Mantrari Mantati Devata Oi Jagadati Durga Oi Namaha. Rang Mushibang Namaha Ring Tatibang Saha Rung Madambam Bosat Raganamai Gangang Hung Rung Kunishin Bosat Rakadastaya Pat Rang Idai Namaha Ring Josasa Mongsikaya Bosaragamava Om Aing Ring Sarvadava Devi Swarupindai Shisharada Devbhoi Namaha Om Aing Ring Sarvadava Devi Swarupindai Shisharada Devbhoi Namaha Om Aing Namaha Om. Purnavadanam Deving Divujam Trilotanam Alu Laidakeshatta Bhaktara Vivaditam Shadattagamalamkara Bhushitam Shakraspanchakana Bhakti Padaining Shubhram Jyotivinjivadattavarining Rama Krishna Gata Pranam Tat Namasavana Priyam Tabradakaram Jagadmati Swarupini Januki Adipaying Sarmulam Chinming Bhavada Nityang Saradam Mokshadayinim Om Aing Ring Esha Gandaha Sarvadava Devi Swarupindai Shri Sharada Devbhoi Namaha Om Om Aing Ring Sasana Puspam Sarvadava Devi Swarupindai Shri Sharada Devbhoi Namaha Om Om Aing Ring Idam Sanyudagam Sarvadava Devi Swarupindai Shri Sharada Devbhoi Namaha Om Om Aing Ring Esha Dhupa Sarvadava Devi Swarupindai Shri Sharada Devbhoi Namaha Om Om Aing Esha Diva Sarvadava Devi Swarupindai Shri Sharada Devbhoi Namaha Bhangadavishavidaya Namaha Bhangadavishavidaya Namaha Om Yadagandha Pushpe Sabhanavidaya Namaha Om Yadagandha Vishnave Namaha Om Yadagandha Padana Sabhanavidaya Shri Sharada Devbhoi Namaha Om Om Aing Ring Idam Chanda Sabhanavidam Sarvadava Devi Swarupindai Shri Sharada Devbhoi Nimadayami Om Pranashavadavasa Om Aing Panudagam Sabhanavidam Shri Sharada Devbhoi Namaha Om Aing Ring Sanda Puspanjali Sarvadeva Devi Swarupindai Shri Sharada Devbhoi Namaha Om Om Jataya Daiga Shakti Ramakrishna Sarvadurupantang Saradang Paramamam My salutation to Sarada Devi, the embodiment of all knowledge, who exists in Sri Ramakrishna, as the burning power exists in fire. Om Tassat, Om Tassat, Om Tassat. Om Vivekananda Namaha Ityasya Mantasya Brahma Rishi Gayati Chanda Sri Ramakrishna Pasada Om Vivekanandaya Vishwacharya Rishatinane Vinyaga Om Brahma Rishi Namaha Om Gayati Chanda Namaha Om Vivekananda Chanda Namaha Sotpunna Satoshi Mandalagadam Gyana Bhakti Padvasi Vikram Daya Devati Vilulavala Karinim Om Bong Om Bong Esha Gandha Vivekanandaya Namaha Om Etikanda Pushpe Sashaktik Sri Ramakrishna Sahitaya Sapasudaya Naranarayana Rupina Vishwachajaya Sagunaya Namaha Om Hidatanidikam Srimad Swami Vivekananda Namaha Om Angesha Dupa Srimad Swami Vivekananda Namaha Om Angesha Dipa Sashaktik Sri Ramakrishna Pasadeva Vivekanandaya Namaha Om Aing Idang Samagrana Viddham Sashakti Sri Ramakrishna Sahitaya Sapasadaya Naranayana Rupina Vishashacharya Saganaya Nimadayami Om Panyodagam Sri Masai Vimandaya Namaha Om Namo Sijati Rajaya Vivekananda Suraye Sachi Sukasarupaya Shamine Tapaharine Om Aing Sarvadava Devi Sarupinoi Shishada Devi Sahidai Sarvadava Devi Sarupaya Sri Ramakrishna Namaha Om Ida Pulvang Prano Dhanma Devata Karita Jagra Sapna Suvastashu Mahasabhasa Kamanattabam Pudena Sidma Jat Kitan Jat Pitan Tasma Punapurusha Mam Buddhisakalang Siddham Sapaye Om Tat Sat Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Sanje Purnashri Purnashri Hari Om Tat Sat
Om
নাহি সূর্য নাহি জ্যোতি, নাহি সূর্য নাহি জ্যোতি, নাহি শশাঙ্ক সুন্দর, ভাসে বনে ছায়া সম, ছবি বিশ্ব চরাচর। নাহি সূর্য নাহি জ্যোতি, নাহি সূর্য নাহি জ্যোতি। অস্ফুট মন আকাশে জগত সংসার ভাসে, অস্ফুট মন আকাশে জগত সংসার ভাসে, ওঠে ভাসে ডুবে পূর্ণ অহং স্রোতে নিরন্তর। নাহি সূর্য নাহি জ্যোতি, নাহি সূর্য নাহি জ্যোতি। ধীরে ধীরে ছায়া দল মহালয়ে প্রবেশিল, ধীরে ধীরে ছায়া দল মহালয়ে প্রবেশিল। বহে মাত্র আমি আমি এই ধারা অনুক্ষণ, সে ধারা বদ্ধ হল শূন্যে শূন্য মিলাইল, সে ধারা বদ্ধ হল শূন্যে শূন্য মিলাইল। হবাং মনস গোচর, বুঝে প্রাণ বুঝে যার। নাহি সূর্য নাহি জ্যোতি, নাহি সূর্য নাহি জ্যোতি, নাহি শশাঙ্ক সুন্দর, ভাসে বনে ছায়া সম, ছবি বিশ্ব চরাচর। নাহি সূর্য নাহি জ্যোতি, নাহি সূর্য নাহি জ্যোতি, নাহি সূর্য নাহি জ্যোতি। महेश्वर भूचल भास्कर निष्ठम मर नरवन्द्या। मूर्त महेश्वर भूचल भास्कर निष्ठम मर नरवन्द्या। वन्दे वेदतनु ऊर्जिता गर्हिता काञ्चन कामिनी वन्दा। मूर्त महेश्वर भूचल উজ্জ্বল ভাস্কর মিষ্টমমর নরবন্দ্র কোটি ভানুকর দীপ্ত সিংহ মহ কটিতট কৌপিন কান্তং কোটি ভানুকর দীপ্ত সিংহ মহ কটিতট কৌপিন কান্তং অবিরাভি হুঙ্কার নাদিত দিনমুখ প্রচণ্ড তাণ্ডব নৃত্যং অবিরাভি হুঙ্কার নাদিত দিনমুখ প্রচণ্ড তাণ্ডব নৃত্যং মূর্ত মহেশ্বর উজ্জ্বল ভাস্কর মিষ্টমমর নরবন্দ্র মুক্তি কৃপা কটাক্ষ প্রেক্ষণ অঘদল বিদলন লক্ষণ মুক্তি কৃপা কটাক্ষ প্রেক্ষণ অঘদল বিদলন দক্ষণ বালচন্দ্রধর বিন্দু বান্ধমিহ নৌমি গুরু বিবেকানন্দ বালচন্দ্রধর বিন্দু বান্ধমিহ নৌমি গুরু বিবেকানন্দ মূর্ত মহেশ্বর উজ্জ্বল ভাস্কর মিষ্টমমর নরবন্দ্র মূর্ত মহেশ্বর উজ্জ্বল ভাস্কর মিষ্টমমর নরবন্দ্র वन्दे वेदतनु ऊर्जिता गर्हिता काञ्चनकामिनि मान्धां मूर्तमहेश्वर उज्ज्वल भास्कर मिष्टममर नरवन्द्र मिष्टममर नरवन्द्र मिष्टममर नरवन्द्र वीर सेनापति विवेकानंद ओई जे डाकिछे आय रे आय आह्वाने तार अपना भूलिया आह्वाने तार अपना भूलिया कत महारथी छुटिया जाय वीर सेनापति विवेकानंद ओई जे डाकिछे आय रे आय आह्वाने तार अपना भूलिया आह्वाने तार अपना भूलिया कत महारथी छुट ছুটিয়া যায় বীর সেনাপতি। আত্মত্যাগের অগ্নিমন্ত্রে দীক্ষিত হয়ে নবীন তন্ত্রে, আত্মত্যাগের অগ্নিমন্ত্রে দীক্ষিত হয়ে নবীন তন্ত্রে, ভোগবাদ যত দৈত্য দলিতে আপনা সপিতে তেজাবিয়ায় বীর সেনাপতি। বীর সেনাপতি বিবেকানন্দ ওই যে ডাকিছে আয় রে আয়, আহ্বানে তার আপনা ভুলিয়া, আহ্বানে তার আপনা ভুলিয়া, কত মহারথী ছুটিয়া যায় বীর সেনাপতি। স্বার্থ দ্বন্দ্ব ভোগ কোলাহল এনেছে জগতে শুধু হলাহল। স্বার্থ দ্বন্দ্ব ভোগ কোলাহল এনেছে জগতে শুধু হলাহল। নিভাতে আজিকে এই দাবানল, নিভাতে আজিকে এই দাবানল, প্রেম বাড়ি সেজে হেরেছে হায়। এসো দেব এসো করুণা নিধান, লহ আজি মম তনু মন প্রাণ। এসো দেব এসো করুণা নিধান, লহ আজি মম তনু মন প্রাণ। কৃপা করি করো আশিস দান, তব কাজে যেন জীবন যায় বীর সেনাপতি। বীর সেনাপতি বিবেকানন্দ ওই যে ডাকিছে আয় রে আয়, আহ্বানে তার আপনা ভুলিয়া, আহ্বানে তার আপনা ভুলিয়া, কত মহারথী ছুটিয়া যায় বীর সেনাপতি। বীর সেনাপতি, বীর সেনাপতি।
This is translation of our Sanskrit chant, which is selections from the Katha Upanishad, chapter 2. Nachiketa said, "Tell me of that which is beyond righteousness and unrighteousness, beyond cause and effect, beyond past and future time." Yama, the king of death, said, "I will tell you of that goal which all the scriptures proclaim, which all austerities aim at. desiring which men lead a life of self-control. In a word, it is Om. This Om is indeed Brahman. This indeed is the highest. Whoever knows this imperishable one obtains whatever he desires. This is the best support. This is the highest support. Whoever realizes this is adored in the highest heaven. The knowing self is not born, nor does it die. It does not arise from anything, nor does anything rise from it. Uncaused, eternal, everlasting, that ancient one is not destroyed when the body is destroyed. Subtler than the subtle, vaster than the vast, the Atman is hidden in the hearts of all living beings. The desireless person, free from grief, with senses tranquil, sees that glorious Atman. On realizing that supreme, all-pervading self, who is bodiless, yet dwells in all embodied beings, the realized soul grieves no more. The self cannot be attained by the study of scriptures, nor by intelligence, nor by scholarship. The self is obtained by the one it chooses. The self reveals its own form. Self-realization cannot be had by the unrestrained or wicked person, nor even by one whose mind is restless. Who knows where it is, that self which has priests and warriors for food and death itself as a condiment? Peace chant. May we both, the teacher and the students, be protected and nourished. May we work together with great vigor. May our study be intense and fruitful. May we cherish no ill feeling towards each other. Om, peace, peace, peace be unto us all.
Today is a great day. We are here to celebrate the birth anniversary of Swami Vivekananda. And as far as I know, that this particular center was organized by Swami Vivekananda himself, in a different way and all these things. And later on, Swami Tigunaditananda, Swami Moshogananda, and then the other Swami who passed away, and present the Swami. So there's a continual of this, not preaching, you'll say, getting into the subject, the Vedanta, is a life. So Swami Vivekananda is a great person, and we are all his followers. So it is good to think on such occasion about him and his teachings also, life story also. It gives us inspiration, special inspiration. So I have noted down some of his life stories, in this way. Swami Vivekananda from his young days was open to learn many new subjects. In this way, in his student life, he became familiar with Western intellectualism, secularism, mechanistic and deterministic science, sociology, and so on. He devoured books on Western philosophy, science, history, and sociology. And in younger days, his name was Naren. Sri Ramakrishna was so much devoted to Naren that he could not pronounce sometimes his name fully, no, and then he went into Samadhi state. Naren from his childhood days had deeper spiritual urges, and under that influence developed the good habit of the practice of meditation. He was endowed with the power of meditation that came naturally to him. He was fond of his schoolmates, relatives, and workers of the house. All were his friends and playmates, and apparently the members of his friend's circle could not fathom that their dear friend was a sincere follower of the ultimate reality. He was out to know for certain whether God is a fact of life or a fact of experience or not. The real secret behind the seeking of this was that his own mind would sit for meditation and get absorbed in one fine, homogeneous state or substance where he would experience an inexpressible bliss and joy. That feeling would completely soothe his body-mind complex, and to enjoy that feeling again and again, he would prefer to sit still. And in this state, Naren would perceive many strange spiritual truths bereft of body consciousness. The yogis claim that this meditative state that brings that kind of inexpressible joy is the much wanted rare states of experience for all religious people. What happens when one gets that state? People will not feel to pick up dispute or quarrel in their day-to-day life and would not have to pass through fear and anxiety. However, Naran's rational mind was struggling to harmonize between the inner life and the outer life. Soon he felt that his pursuit of intellectualism could not satisfy his deeper spiritual urges. Herein lies the limitations or deficiency of intellectualism. It cannot satisfy the deeper urges of the human spirit since it totally ignores the human spirit. At this stage of his life, after undergoing many restless days, at long last, perchance, his meeting with Sri Ramakrishna brought him face to face with what he had been seeking, a bold, direct, and practical assertions of the ultimate truth. During his later days, when Swami Vivekananda was empowered by his master Sri Ramakrishna to carry out the master's divine mission of teaching religion to the people of the East and West, Swami Vivekananda stressed on the ideas of oneness of existence and divinity of the soul. Swami Vivekananda told, God is a fact of life, and therefore the divinity of the soul should not be neglected. To Swami Vivekananda, why should I seek the divinity of soul is not the big question, but to serve God in human being who is the living God, who is the worst victim of suffering, is the important thing in life. Swami Vivekananda entered into eternal life through Samadhi on 4th July 1902. In India, 12th January, the day he was born, had been declared by the Government of India as National Youth Day, and it is observed by various organizations and institutions in many different ways. So this year, I called our headquarters. I learned that about 6,000 youth, boys and girls, assembled there on this occasion. Next is that we know that Swami Vivekananda is not the person alone. He is a voice, teaching. He is a great teacher. So we learn so many things. The mystery of life, which disturbs our life every time and could not find any solution. How Swami Vivekananda, in a simple way, explain all the difficult yoga system in a very nice way. So a few of his teachings I like to read or mention to you. Unity in variety is the plan of creation. However, men and women may vary individually. There is unity in the background. The different individual characters and classes of men and women are natural variation in creation. Hence, we ought not to judge them by the same standard or put the same ideal before them. Such a course creates only an unnatural struggle. And result is that man began to hate himself and is hindered from becoming religious and good. Our duty is to encourage everyone in this struggle to live up to his own highest ideal and strive at the same time to make the ideal as near as possible to the truth. Through high philosophy or low, through the more exalted mythology or the grossest, through the most refined ritualism or errant fetishism, every sect, every soul, every nation, every religion, consciously or unconsciously, is struggling upward towards God. Every vision of truth that man has is a vision of him and of none else. Then I have till time, so I can discuss another very nice, there's so many ideas, hundreds of them. It is about Vivekananda's own, what is called that, idea about helping other people means that these thoughts he mentioned for the reformers. Nowadays, of course, the old reformers have become another, our leaders, it's called social leaders, like that. To them, he mentioned his own ideas. Who could do real good work for the people? If you wish to be a true reformer, three things are necessary. The first is to feel. Do you really feel for your brothers? Do you really feel that there is so much misery in the world, so much ignorance and superstition? Do you really feel the men are your brothers? Does this idea come into your whole being? Does it run with your blood? Does it tingle in your vein? Does it course through every nerve and filament of your body? Are you full of that idea of sympathy? If you are, that is only the first step. You must think next if you have found any remedy. The old ideas may all be superstition, but in and around these masses of superstition are nuggets of gold and truth. Have you discovered means by which to keep that gold alone without any of the dross? If you have done that, that is only the second step. One more thing is necessary. What is your motive? Are you sure you are not actuated by greed of gold, by thirst for fame or power? Are you sure that you can stand to your ideal and work on, even if the whole world wants to crush you down? Are you sure you know what you want and will perform your duty, and that alone, even if your life is at stake? Are you sure that you will persevere so long as life endures, so long as there is one pulsation left in the heart? Then you are a real reformer. You are a teacher, master, a blessing to mankind. Sister Nivedita made a beautiful comment about Swami Vivekananda. The outstanding impression made by the Swamis bearing during all these months of European and American life was one of almost complete indifference to his surroundings. current estimates of value left him entirely unaffected. He was never in any way startled or incredulous under success, being too deeply convinced of the greatness of the power that worked through him to be surprised by it, but neither was he unnerved by external failure. Both victory and defeat would come and go. He was their witness. He moved fearless and unhesitant through the luxury of the West, as determinedly as I had seen him in India, dressed in the two garments of simple folk, sitting on the floor and eating with his finger, so equally without doubt or shrinking was his acceptance of the complexity of the means of living in America or France. Monk and king, he said, or observed a reverse and reverse of a single medal. From the use of the best to the renunciation of all was but one step. Thank you.
Swami Vivekananda gave a series of 4 different lectures entitled Practical Vedanta. So I shall read some of those statements. As I have told you, theory is very good indeed, but how are we to put it into practice? If it be absolutely impracticable, no theory is of any value whatever, except as intellectual gymnastics. The Vedanta, therefore, as a religion, must be intensely practical. We must be able to carry it out in every part of our lives. And not only this, the fictitious differentiation between religion and the life of the world must vanish. For the Vedanta teaches oneness, one life throughout. The ideals of religion must cover the whole field of life. They must enter into all our thoughts and more into practice. I will gradually enter on the practical side as we proceed, but this series of lectures is intended to be a basis, and so we must first apply ourselves to theories and understand how they are worked out, proceeding from forest caves to busy streets and cities. In various Upanishads, we find that the Vedanta philosophy is not the outcome of meditation in the forests only, but that the very best parts of it were thought out and expressed by brains which were busiest in the everyday affairs of life. We cannot conceive any man busier than an absolute monarch, a man who is ruling over millions of people, and yet some of these rulers were deep thinkers. Everything goes to show that this philosophy must be very practical. And later on, when we come to the Bhagavad Gita, Most of you perhaps have read it. It is the best commentary we have on the Vedanta philosophy. Curiously enough, the scene is laid on the battlefield where Krishna teaches this philosophy to Arjuna, and the doctrine which stands out luminously in every page of the Gita is intense activity, but in the midst of it, eternal calmness. This is the secret of work, attaining to which is the goal of the Vedanta. The Vedanta preaches the ideal, and the ideal, as we know, is always far ahead of the real, of the practical, as we may call it. There are two tendencies in human nature. One, to harmonize the ideal with life, and the other, to elevate the life to the ideal. It is a great thing to understand this, for the former tendency is the temptation of our lives. I think that I can only do a certain class of work. Most of it perhaps is bad. Most of it perhaps has a motive power of passion behind it, anger or greed or selfishness. Now, if any man comes to preach to me a certain ideal, the first step toward which is to give up selfishness, to give up self-enjoyment, I think that this is impractical. But when a man brings an ideal which can be reconciled with my selfishness, I'm glad at once and I jump at it. That is the ideal for me. Therefore, I will ask you to understand that Vedanta, though it is intensely practical, is always so in the sense of the ideal. It does not preach an impossible ideal, however high it be, and it is high enough for an ideal. In one word, this ideal is that you are divine. Thou art that. This is the essence of Vedanta. After all its ramifications and intellectual gymnastics, you know the human soul to be pure and omniscient. You see that such superstitions as birth and death would be entire nonsense when spoken of in connection with the soul. The soul was never born and will never die. And all these ideas that we're going to die and are afraid to die are mere superstitions. And all such ideas as that we can do this or cannot do that are superstitions. We can do everything. The Vedanta teaches men to have faith in themselves first. Not believing in the glory of our own soul is what the Vedanta calls atheism. Vedanta shows that this is realized already. It is already there. All the powers in the universe are already ours. It is we who have put our hands before our eyes and cry that it is dark. Know that there is no darkness around us. Take the hands away, and there is the light which was there from the beginning. Darkness never existed. Weakness never existed. We who are fools cry that we are weak. We who are fools cry that we are impure. Thus, Vedanta not only insists that the ideal is practical, but that it has been so all the time. And this ideal, this reality, is our own nature. Everything else that you see is false, untrue. As soon as you say, I'm a little mortal being, you are saying something which is not true. You are giving the lie to yourselves. You are hypnotizing yourself into something vile and weak and wretched. The Vedanta recognizes no sin. It only recognizes error. And the greatest error, says the Vedanta, is to say that you are weak, that you are a sinner, a miserable creature, and that you have no power and you cannot do this and cannot do that. Every time you think in that way, you, as it were, rivet one more link in the chain that binds you down. You add one more layer of hypnotism on your own soul. Therefore, whoever thinks he is weak is wrong. Whoever thinks he is impure is wrong and is throwing a bad thought into the world. This we must always bear in mind, that in the Vedanta there's no attempt at reconciling the present life, the hypnotized life, this false life which we have assumed, with the ideal. But this false life must go, and the real life, which is always existing, must manifest itself, must shine out. No person becomes purer and purer. It is a matter of greater manifestation. The veil drops away, and the native purity of the soul begins to manifest itself. Everything is ours already: infinite purity, freedom, love, and power.
Today is an important day, as Aparanandaji mentioned, in the history of religious thoughts. And I want to read a part of the most famous lecture that Swami Vivekananda gave in the year 1893, September 11th. In fact, this monastic order, which is actually a continuation of a much older spiritual tradition, was founded on the foundation of this talk, which I am going to read out right now. Apparently, it may not have lasted more than 6 or 7 minutes, but that is the this is supposed to be one of the most celebrated examples of elocution and oratory that laid foundation to a new trend in interreligious thoughts. It fills my heart with joy unspeakable to rise in response to the warm and cordial welcome which you have given us. I thank you in the name of the most ancient order of monks in the world. I thank you in the name of the Mother of Religions, and I thank you in the name of millions and millions of Hindu people of all classes and sects. Swamiji here describes Hinduism as the mother of all religions. Those who are students of world history will know that what we now call Hinduism, which actually is a new name which was bestowed upon in much ancient tradition, had reached its most sublime state of perfection and development long before the Egyptian pyramids were built, long before the Assyrian, Babylonian, the Greek, Roman, Chinese civilizations were even conceived of. We, Swamiji, will continue to repeat again and again his lectures, which those of you are interested in history will find repeated again and again in the works of Arnold Toynbee, the greatest name in modern historiography, and also in the UN editions of the great books on work on world civilizations. So those of you who are interested will realize the significance of this statement, the mother of world religions. I don't know how many of you may be aware of this fact. This mother of world religions is not even recognized legally as a religion in 24 out of the 26 nations of Europe. I don't know how many of you are aware of this fact. In 24 out of 26 nations of Europe, this mother of religion, Hinduism, doesn't have a legal status as a religious denomination. That's another part. Swamiji continues. Of course, he begins this lecture by the famous statement which I wanted to mention later, Sisters and Brothers of America. The great historian of the Proceedings of Parliament of Religion, who was himself an integral part of the organizing committee, he has mentioned that this was perhaps the briefest way of addressing the audience. So if you look at the other lectures, which you find in the Henry Barrow's the Proceedings of the Parliament of Religion 1893, they were much more endearing terms, but when people heard this address, it is said that they all stood up in appreciation of the speaker. My thanks also to some of the speakers on this platform who, referring to the delegates from the Orient, have told you that these men from far-off nations may well claim the honor of bearing to different lands the idea of toleration. Swamiji is talking about toleration, religious toleration, which was not a very favorite or endearing word in those days as it is now. I am proud to belong to a religion which has taught the world both tolerance and universal acceptance. We believe not only in universal toleration, but we accept all religions as true. I am proud to belong to a nation which has sheltered the persecuted and the refugees of all religions and all nations of the earth. I am proud to tell you that we have gathered in our bosom the purest remnant of the Israelites who came to southern India and took refuge with us in the very year in which their holy temple was shattered to pieces by Roman tyranny. I am proud to belong to the religion which is sheltered and is still fostering the remnant of the grand Zoroastrian religion. there are two important references to two important events in world history. One is the migration of the Jewish population from Jerusalem. There were two migrations, one in 400 BC, the other in 70 or 71 AD. According to some historians, there was an earlier migration between these two periods in 51 AD. The point is, in the first migration is in 400 BC, the Jewish people whose temples and places were destroyed by the Assyrians fled to India and found shelter, and they were accepted as honored guests. That is the first instance. The second incident that Swamiji may be referring to is the one that happened in 70 or 71 AD when Masada collapsed. That's considered to be the last stand of the Israeli population against the Roman invasion. The Roman 10th Legion attacked Jerusalem, and the great fortress Masada fell and collapsed, and that led to the mass suicide of more than 1,000 defenders who still remained within the fortress. Abadosu managed to escape during this time. They went to India and took shelter in a place called Cochin in today's southwest of India, Kerala, where they built a synagogue which still stands in this 21st century in the year January 14th. So it is called the second oldest surviving synagogue in the history of the world. So if you go to Jerusalem, you find in Tel Aviv. If I go to Israel, you find there are the replicas of two synagogues. First, the oldest one, which of course were destroyed by the Romans. The second one, which is still surviving in its original form, in a small town. Now it's a highly developed city in Cochin. It is located in a small part of the city called the Jewish town. It's called. So I still remember when I first visited as a student, 80, 90-year-old Jews reading the canons in cloistered houses going back to 50 or 60 AD. So that's what Swamiji is referring to. The second incident that Swamiji is referring to, in his first lecture, which actually laid the foundation to what we now call the concept of interreligious dialogue. Interreligious dialogue as a practice and a concept began in the year 1893. Many of us are not aware of this. Interspirituality, interfaith dialogue, the idea that different delegates representing different religious traditions can and should come on a single platform and discuss their religious doctrines and teachings in an atmosphere of toleration and acceptance. That idea began in the year 1893. To be more specific, on September 11, 1893, with this talk with Swamiji gave in Chicago. So the credit historically goes to the organizing committee who was actually celebrating the 400th anniversary of Columbus' discovery of the new continent. The second incident Swami is referring to in this first lecture is something very interesting. In the 7th century AD, the entire Iran, what they called Persia at that time, now it's called Iran, America was called Iran. So this country was overrun by the Arabs, and the entire population were either massacred. Those who were not massacred were either forced to flee, run away, or they were converted to Islam at the point of sword. Now, a small group of these Zoroastrians, who were the followers of Zoroaster, the Parsi religion, very similar to the religion of the Rig Veda, they fled to India. They reached the Saurashtra coast in the western part of today's Gujarat state in India. And their main priest came at the head of a procession of these Zoroastrians. And the local Hindu Raja came to the shore and accepted this group and gave them villages and towns, then asked one question: we have given you protection and shelter. What would you give us back? This originally comes from Toynbee or Lord Toynbee. And they replied, the head priest of the Zoroastrians requested for a small bowl of milk to be brought. And then he requested for a small quantity of sugar to be brought. Then he put the sugar in the milk and stirred. Then he replied to the king, sir, just as this sugar got mixed up with this milk, like that, we will get absorbed into your ancient cultural heritage. And do you know, one of the greatest industrial captains of India today, the Tata Group, belongs to that ancient Zoroastrian tradition. And one of their family members who actually became the father of modern industry in India, Mr. Tata, Jamshedji Tata, happened to meet Vivekananda during his travel from India to America. This is a historical coincidence. The earlier incident, perhaps I didn't complete. In 70 or 71 AD, when the Masada collapsed, the Jews migrated to India, and when they came, the local Raja gave over to them a few villages and a temple. The temple, a Hindu temple, and asked them, you can convert this temple into your place of worship. So that became historically the second oldest Jewish synagogue in the world that still stands in the place where they built that synagogue. Remember, 70 or 71 AD, a few days after the Masada collapsed, they fled and they came to Kochi. These are the two historical incidents that Swamiji is referring to in his lecture, in the second paragraph of the Chicago Address. And then Swamiji continues, I will quote to you, brethren, a few lines from a hymn which I remember to have repeated from my earliest boyhood, which is every day repeated by millions of human beings. As the different streams having their sources in different places all mingle their water in the sea, so, my Lord, the different paths which men take through different tendencies, various though they may appear, crooked or straight, all lead to thee. Swamiji is referring to some verses from the Shiva Mahimna Stotra. Actually, Ruchiram Vaijityad Richu Kudila Nana Padhasham Draname Go Gamas Tomasi Payasam Arnaveva. Different religions are like different rivers which originate in different places, but they all mingle together and become one when they join the ocean. Like that, whatever religion you may belong to, or maybe you don't belong to any religion, still whatever prayers, whatever spiritual aspirations you have, in whatever language you express, in whatever place of worship you do that, whatever holy books you read, all will eventually lead to the same destination. That means, as Sri Ramakrishna taught, all these different religions are so many paths leading to the same goal. The last paragraph, it ends with an interesting and a very important proclamation and a prayer. The present convention, which is one of the most august assemblies ever held, is in itself a vindication, a declaration to the world of the wonderful doctrine preached in the Gita. Whosoever comes to me through whatsoever form, I reach him. All are struggling through paths which in the end lead to me. So this again is a reference to an important theme expressed in the Bhagavad Gita. Sectarianism, bigotry, and its horrible descendant, fanaticism, have long possessed this beautiful earth. They have filled the earth with violence, drenched it often and often with human blood, and still happening in today's world. If you open the eyes, if you look around, if you read newspapers, you can see that happening still. Destroyed civilizations and sent whole nations to despair. Had it not been for these horrible demons, human society would be far more advanced than it is now. But their time is come, and I fervently hope that the bell that tolled this morning in honor of this convention may be the death knell of all fanaticism, of all persecutions with the sword or with the pen, and of all uncharitable feelings between persons wending their way to the same goal. So this is the first declaration, historically speaking, on a Western platform of the idea that no matter what religion you practiced, no matter what culture you belong to, eventually humanity is one spiritual family. That's a unique message of Swami Vivekananda's briefest and the most important and the most famous speech. So with this I conclude. I have some important announcements now. After this, there will be flower offering. And, flower offering we will conduct as we did last time. Our volunteers, usherers will distribute flowers to devotees. They will remain seated, one flower each. And after they have received the flower, I shall repeat a mantra, an invocation, a tribute to Swami Vivekananda. Mentally you can pray. After that, our devotees will take back those flowers and place here in front of the altar on behalf of all of you. This is one announcement. After that, we will have take away prasad. All of you will collect take away prasad. We were still planning to hold prasad luncheon in Vivekananda Hall, but unfortunately, in the light of the latest reports that we received from different sources, we thought it's better and safer to hold this prasad as a takeaway prasad. Thank you. So I shall repeat this mantra. Om Sthapakaya cha dharmasya Sarvadharmassurupine Avatara Varisthaya Ramakrishnaya te namaha. Namasri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Suraye Satchit Sukhaswarupaya Swami Netapaharine. Now volunteers will collect the flower and put in a tray on your behalf. As you go out, you can, of course, take away prasad. Our assurers will direct you. Thank you. Namaskar.